Alrighty, LAPD is group stalking in helicopter, doing so right on schedule pursuant to what they know I am already in possession of, which is evidence of federal group stalking and monitoring in an entirely different region. The evidence of which the entity knows it's fully exposed, not only that they are demon possessed while they're engaging in a statewide system of surveillance in the state of California, but that they're also engaged in federal stalking and that they are making up police departments that are actually stalkers and terrorists and sex offenders and psychopaths, and that's not being hyperbolic. That's based on their criminal activity while masking around as law enforcement agencies. The entity is indeed stalking in helicopter, flying in relevant position to my apartment, and from this distance amplifying the sound of, by amplification I mean the fact that you're at that great distance, I should not be able to hear it in my apartment. I shouldn't be able to hear it. It would not ordinarily disrupt you. You wouldn't have any knowledge of the fact that a helicopter is present. The entity is engaging in what is a demonic method and the maintenance of a demonic environment as well, both in the workplace for purposes of stalking and helicopter. And it is demonic activity. You also know that it's demonic. You also know that it's targeting because of the unnatural environment that surrounds. So first of all, we're going to start step by step. You already know about the engineered light that is present in my apartment. The entity suggests that the sun is in any position where you saw it this morning as early as 6 o'clock in the morning. And the light source is in alignment to my living room window, as though sunlight is of the product of the sun that's in perfect alignment diagonally, even though it appears as though it's not even risen yet, yet there is light that you still see, concentrated light. This is necessarily concentrated, and this is engineered light. It's not even sunlight. You know the pattern of conduct, and again, I capture the ongoing maintenance of a light source under the demonic imitation of a sunrise. And while you look at what is supposedly the sunrise, this is not even, you don't even see it yet, but yet you can see the engineered light. It's so concentrated, it's appearing on my hand where I'm standing at a distance away from my window, and it's appearing on my living room walls. This is at 6:23 in the morning. And then you're juxtaposing that with the sunrise captured through Planet Fitness at Washington and Central as well. Don't forget about that. This is the light source that's outside of my door right now. As I'm capturing it walking in, and it's still here while LAPD is amplifying helicopter activity, which is audible activity, while they are in relevant position, and while also, this is distinct, it has nothing to do with sunlight. It's the engineered light, and the light source is directly above me. It's no longer outside of my leasing office either, my leasing office window, which is also how you know that those are demons stalking in a helicopter, and group stalking is that which is done by the population, by the group, which is the state. It's in concert with all the people of the state. This is the prosecution of the population. Now, the population that lives at the community, they're all going to federal prison, while the entity is still engaging in what is impunity. And at this point, you are providing evidence against the criminal co-conspirator, who are the people of the state. This is crossing a path on video. This is exposing what is terrorism that is currently underway in the United States. And it is the government that's engaging in terrorism and stalking American citizens, doing so using helicopters, which Dominic Choi, a terrorist organizer who is going to be prosecuted and exposed like every other criminal that's currently under what is the corrupt leadership of these terrorist organizations that are calling themselves law enforcement agencies, while you're seeing them chase down people on the freeway. This is the criminal activity that they're not showing you on TV, okay? And this is what's not being reported to you by the people of the state that are showing you those police chases. This is criminal conduct, and it's demonic activity. This is the light source that's directly over me, and the reason why I started this video at this time, and it's also the reason why the demons are telling on themselves by stalking on video, is because at this time, on this same day in 2022, the entity is maintaining a light source directly over me. That is July 5th, 2022. I'm at 215 East C Street in Ontario, California. That is the Ovid Family Community Library. By the way, that, which you can see here, is not only, is it not over the top of my head outside of my apartment here at Alvarado Gardens, and let's go ahead and give you that priceless view so you can see it with your eyes. You can never see the impossible enough. You need to get it ingrained in your mind, the reality of Satan, the reality of demonic activity, the reality of public corruption in this country, the reality of not only in this country, in California, which is criminal surveillance. This is exposing what is demon possession, demonic activity, and it's manifesting itself in criminal conduct that I'm prosecuting, okay? But that the Lord Jesus is exposing. And so this is the impossible right here, that the sun would be over Ovid Family Community Library in the same position that you're seeing it over my head while I'm in Los Angeles at building 1806 in Los Angeles, North Alvarado Street, facing the east, and you're looking at what's a demon delivering mail, calling themselves the United States Postal Service. The same conduct that the demons do when they're driving by 1826 Lobdell, and engineer light moves across the building, and you are supposed to think that it's different or distinct because they're wearing a uniform that says USPS. And let me be clear, clear. The USPS is documented engaging in the same exact demonic activity, terrorism via directed light, under the same exact light source. That's not the sun. They're engaged in federal stalking, and they're doing so right now in concert with LAPD, who's stalking in helicopter. This is the entity's pattern of conduct, and it is the entity's ceaseless engagement in what is a statewide system. And this is impossible that USPS is engaging in nothing other than the statewide system, where the fake sun is over my head and you are seeing them in relevant position in sync with the entity that's engaged in routine stalking in helicopters. That's the P.O.C. There's also no sunlight that, first of all, is going to appear at this vantage point underneath the covered structure. That's not sunlight. With regard to the sun, the natural environment, this would be shade. This would be shade. But not only is it not sunlight based on the fact that it's here, it's not sunlight that's going to occur while the sun is over 215 East C Street at the Ovid Family Community Library. You're supposed to be conditioned to think that this is all sunlight covering all of the land. It's the product of the sun that you see directly over the top of my head. All right, that's why I started this video at 10:49 a.m. on the same day in 2022 to give a very, I don't have to do July 5th, but the prosecution is so comprehensive. The body of evidence is so complete. I have the ability, the luxury to use such evidence and further expose what Satan is doing amongst a corrupt government. That is the state of California. And what the enemy is doing, which is speaking to actually what the Lord is doing at this time, okay, in the land for amongst his people, and exposing the reality of that. In the specific environment, however, you have the entity that maintains a specific pattern of conduct, which is stalking in helicopters. And that's exactly what you see the entity doing, flying outside of my apartment in an environment where the sun, that's not possibly the sun, that remains not only over my head, but it remains over my head for the duration of the day. This is the pattern of conduct that the people of the state of California are fully engaged in, both today while I'm now relocated in Los Angeles, and this is exactly the criminal system that was underway while I was in an entirely different region, and that same pattern of conduct was pursuing me, continuously engaged in. So, and this is the same terrorist organization that repeatedly engaged in kidnapping, seeking to obstruct justice, and is to date continuously engaging in what is federal stalking, group stalking, and ongoing acts of criminal obstruction of justice. This is a demon-possessed person who is crossing path, and they're doing so while the entity is group stalking in an engineered environment. And this is, again, the level of deception that Satan is speaking to, what is showing the reality of what a corrupt government is practicing. It's practicing demonic activity. This is prosecuted as surveillance because the government doesn't have a right to stalk you. In addition, it's going to be recognized as terrorism in the United States because the government is not only stalking outside of any constitutional basis to do so, they're also engaging in what is demonic. This is terrorism by the government that's already a terrorist by stalking you. That's how you have a pattern of conduct of stalking amongst multiple police departments and sheriff's departments, not just the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. Okay, that's how you have that. That's terrorism on its face. They're not just stalking, they're engaging in what is demonic methods of stalking someone with an entire population. And this is what represents the people of the state that currently live at Alvarado Gardens. And this statewide system of terrorism and group stalking, an ongoing sex offense, it's occurring following into the workplace. It remains underway 24/7 while I'm in my private space. It shall be prosecuted as the exceedingly violent sex offense that it is. The people of the state doing so with impunity while you're looking at the terrorist organization still to this date on July 5th, 2024, continuously engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct in an environment that is impossible to naturally exist. The light source at 1057 is not over 215 East C Street in the same position over the top of my head. This could not possibly be the natural environment, while I am capable of showing you right now, which is the same time, the so-called sun, and there is only one, it is exclusive, and it's not over 215 East C Street in Ontario, California, which, by the way, is nowhere near the Social Security Administration, where I remain seated in my car, which I captured on video, showing you the pattern of conduct by the same population, the people of the state, who engage in group stalking via terrorism with directed light. That's the molestation by a demon-possessed population who were group stalking me as I went to 1401 8th Street, the Social Security Administration building. And I showed you video captured in 2021, and there's a whole body of evidence of the people of the state engaging in the pattern of conduct. And at 1056, 1057, the sun cannot possibly be over the Ovid Family Community Library, unlike what I captured on this day in 2022. And that's because it's revealing a pattern of conduct, a pattern of stalking, terrorism, specifically group stalking. by the state. And so this is massive surveillance in other words, and this is revealing what the spirit of Satan, this is demon possession, this is what Satan is doing amongst the government, a corrupt government, a demon-infected government, which is a threat to your life and safety and inherently your constitutional rights. And also it's speaking to the illusion of privacy, of free society in America. And also it's revealing the ways in which that can be readily identifiable and prosecuted, which is what the P.O.C. serves. So it is currently 10:59 a.m. This is again happening on the watch of Todd speaker companies who are fully engaged in a state pattern of conduct. So they are not ignorantly group stalking and engaging in a pattern. They are doing so intentionally, which speaks to the criminal act of obstruction of justice, threatening my employment as a third-party company, lacking any legitimate authority to do so, while you are a terrorist engaging in criminal activity in concert with and on behalf of the state of California, which is grounds of federal prison. This is why you've heard me repeat the same, that Heather Till is going to federal prison. That's why, because of the criminal acts of obstruction of justice that I've documented, that I'm subject to in the workplace, and Todd Speaker and the people of the state are not ignorant about the pattern of conduct by the population. You're not ignorant about a pattern that you're copying, that you're mirroring. You're intentionally engaging in it, and that high level of malice, that threat to my life, seeking to discard me, seeking to ruin my ability to provide for myself. Also, remember the acts of defamation that were uttered not only verbally but in writing by the people of the state, and the employee warning notice. You're subject to federal prison for that. This is the pattern of conduct by the entity that is terrorizing you with the government, that seeks to bring ruin, if not removal of your existence altogether. And then the people of the state report it on the news, and that's if it even gets picked up. Okay, so that injustice is what is to be addressed with regard to this federal prosecution, which is historic, and it's exposing what the state of California is engaged in. That's why you have what is both the pattern of conduct, but also very foolish for a government to be caught on camera yet again on this day, because people are going to serve real-time consequences for the ongoing impunity that I'm documenting while I remain subject to terrorism by the state of California. All right, it is currently 11:01 a.m. and by virtue of seeing this light source over me, and it's going to remain over me as I go back to my office, which is the pattern of conduct, there's no sun that's going to be over Vaughn's parking lot, over the Vaughn's grocery store, while again the pattern of the entity flying over my head in helicopters is speaking to the same population, whether that population includes a white woman carrying a recycling grocery bag and driving a Prius, which is supposed to be her do-gooder efforts to help the environment, while she's just casually engaging in terrorism while she goes on with the rest of her day. Okay, to the shelter where she's adopting animals and cleaning them and giving them out and feeding the homeless. All right, and nobody's aware of the fact that she is actually a terrorist and a demon-possessed one who's engaging in America's version of what is terrorism in the U.S. And that is those are the deceptive and life-threatening devices that are what Satan is using right now to target you, and doing it so casually and under the malicious guise of what is a free society. So this is removing all of that malice and the high-level deception that the state of California is requiring. Okay, so you're removing all of that light. Excuse me, you're bringing in a whole bunch of light. The P.O.C. brings in like cast light, and is removing all of the darkness, all of the secrecy, okay, all of that deception where the pattern of conduct is underway. It is currently 11:02 a.m. and this is P.O.C.